to get over here to this land.
Right.
Read.
And the same region is called Arshareth.
Arshareth. When you look up the word Arshareth in the dictionary, it means America. All right? So that's how the 10 tribes got over here to America. They declared their pedigrees, their lineage of where they came from the house of their fathers. So you cannot be more than one nation. You cannot be mixed. God said you come from your father. You are what your father is. So sis, if I were to ask you what's your father, what would you tell me? What's going on, brother? Right? All right, so you say you're Gad, right? You got second Ezra, right? Second Ezra, right? So we're going to show you how the Native Americans got here in America. All right? Because they came over here for a purpose, right? They were not particularly brought over here like the blacks and the blacks were by slave ships, right? But they came over here. Let's find out how they came over here. Read.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verses 40.
Yeah.
Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land.
Right, so those are the 10 tribes. This is talking about the northern kingdom. Gad, Reuben, Asher, Issachar, Naphtali, right? It said the 10 tribes, read,
which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king.
Right, so they were carried away prisoners. The nation of Israel were always in captivity, right? So this was the time of Hosea the king, read.
Whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive.
Right, so Salmanassar led the 10 tribes into captivity, read.
And he carried away them over the waters.
Right.
And also came they unto another land.
Right. Read.
But they took this counsel among themselves.
Right. So when the 10 tribes were in captivity carried away by Salmanassar, they took counsel among themselves. Let's find out what that counsel was. Read.
That they will leave the multitude of the heathen.
Right. That they would leave the heathen. Right. That they would leave to another land because they were in captivity. Read.
And go forth unto a further country.
To go forth to a further country. Right? Read on.
Where never mankind dwelt.
Where never mankind dwelt. So the 10 tribes came over to America where never mankind dwelt. Right? Read on.
That they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Right. So the counsel they took that they were going to come over here to America to keep their laws. Read.
And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river.
They came through Euphrates. In history, they say they came through the Bering Strait, but that's not possible. It said they came through the Euphrates. Read.
For the Most High then showed them signs for them.
Right. So the Most High showed the northern kingdom, so Issachar in particular, how to read the signs of heaven, how to read the stars for navigation to get around to where the land that they were going to. Read.
And held still the flood.
Read.
Till they were passed over.
What? Read.
For through that country there was a great way to go.
Right, there was a great way to go to that country. Read.
Namely, of a year and a half.
It took them a year and a half to get over here to this land.
Right.
Read.
And the same region is called Arshareth.
Arshareth. When you look up the word Arshareth in the dictionary, it means America. All right? So that's how the 10 tribes got over here to America. Right? And you know a little bit about the history when Christopher Columbus came over here. The Europeans came over here, right? That the so-called native Indies were already here in this land, and that they what? You know a little bit about that history? What happened? They took over. How did they took over? by war,
Right.
by the sword, right? When they came over here, they killed off the Native Americans. They pushed them to reservations.
Right.
They pushed them to the side.
Right.
This land over here is the Native Americans.
That's right.
Give me that in Genesis 49. Genesis 49. Let's show you who the Native Americans are. Because that is not your nationality. God called you from the tribe of Gad, out of the nation of Israel, right? You got that? Genesis 49.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 49, verses 19. Bring it out. Gad, a troop shall overcome him.
Right, a troop shall overcome him. That is talking about the Europeans. A troop shall overcome him. Did not the so-called white man come over here and overcome the Native Indians?
Right.
They came over here and conquered, pillaged, raped, robbed, murdered, and took over the land today.
That's right.
That's that troop that came over here to America that destroyed the Native Americans, that destroyed Gad, your people, our people, right? Read on.
But he shall overcome at the last.
But he, Gad, shall overcome at the last.
That's right.
How will Gad overcome at the last? When Christ comes back and destroy this earth, right? That's how we will overcome at the last. But there are requirements for us. There are requirements for the children of Israel if we want to be saved out this captivity that we are in today. Right? There are requirements. So you are from the tribe of Gad, out of the children of Israel. And God requires things out of his people. God requires us to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. The reason why we are in captivity today is because we broke God's laws, statutes, and commandments.
That's right.
All right? Give me that in Deuteronomy 10 and 12. All right? So we must come back to God's laws, statutes, and commandments. We are out here today to show our people who they are. We are out here to show them the requirements that God wanted them to do. To keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. Read.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, verses 12.
Bring it out.
And now, Israel, what doeth the Lord thy God require of thee?
Right. Now, Israel, you're from the nation of Israel. Do you understand that you're from the tribe of Gad, out of the nation of Israel? You don't understand that? Remember we just went over about them leaving their land, coming over here to America, about a troop overcoming them? Did that not happen to the Native Americans? Right. So it said that would happen to Gad. If you put two and two together, the Native Americans will make the tribe of Gad. Do you understand that? About what we went over? So that's talking about the tribe of Gad. So what does that make you? The tribe of Gad, right? So we're going to find out the requirements of how that troop, how Gad will overcome the troop in the last. Read.
And now, Israel, what doeth the Lord thy God require of thee?
Right. Now, Israel, what does God require of thee? What does God want from you? What's your name again, brother? I'm sorry. DeMarcus. What does God require from you, DeMarcus? Read.
But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways.
To fear God and to walk in all his ways. How do you walk in God's ways? Read.
And to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and to keep the commandments of the Lord.
To keep the commandments of the Lord. So DeMarcus, you must keep the law, statutes, and commandments.
That's right.
Let me ask you, that's a black and mild in your hand, right? Does God want the children of Israel to be smoking? No. So why do you have a black and mild in your hand? Say it again. That's what you do. But does that what God wants you to do? God says he wants you to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. Let's get the law on that, right? Give me that. 1 Corinthians 3. 3:16.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 3, verses 16.
Bring it out.
Know ye not that ye are the temple of God?
DeMarcus, God is telling you Don't you know that you are the temple of God? God is telling you, you are the temple of God. Read.
And that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you.
The Spirit of God is supposed to be dwelling in you. These laws, statutes, and commandments are supposed to be dwelling in you, DeMarcus, but they cannot because you are inhaling smoke. You are defiling your temple. Right? Read on.
If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy.
Right. So if any man defile the temple of God, God will destroy it. All right? What's going on, brother? What's your name? Julian. I got Julian and DeMarcus. Right? Have y'all went to church growing up? Y'all went to church growing up? What was on the wall? A picture of Jesus. Would you say the same, DeMarcus? What did that picture look like? It was white. It looked like this guy over here, right? These images right here. Would you say the same, DeMarcus? Right. So in the church, they have painted Christ, they have painted God to be a white man. But that is not true according to the Bible. Right. Read that. We're going to show you the true image of Christ. Read.
This is the book of Revelations, chapter 1, verses 1.
Bring it out.
The revelation of Jesus Christ.
The revelation of Jesus Christ. The root word of revelation is to reveal. So this is the revealing of Jesus Christ. All right? So now we're going to jump a few verses up to verse 14. So this chapter is the revealing of Jesus Christ. Read.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
It said his head and his hairs were white like wool, white in color, woolly in texture. The hairs on his head and the hairs on his face were woolly in texture, right? Read on.
As white as snow.
As white as snow. You ever seen an older gentleman, right? He got white, gray, woolly hair. That's what Christ looked like. It said his hair was white and woolly. Read that again.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
They were white like wool, wool in texture and white in color. Read.
As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
So it said the whites of his eyes were red like flame of fire. What was Christ's first miracle? He turned water into what? Into what? Wine. You think he drank some of that wine? He did. But what? He wasn't a drunk, because it is a sin to be a drunk, right? So it said though his eyes were red as a flame of fire because he drank a little wine, right? Read on.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
It said his feet like unto fine brass. If you look down, if you were to wear sandals, right? And you look down at your feet, and it said it was like fine brass. What color would that be? It would be what? Brown. So it said Christ's feet look like fine brass. That's the color of brown, right? So Christ's feet was brown. But let's see how brown and let's see how dark it was. Read.
As if they burned in a furnace.
As if they burned in a furnace. So Christ's feet were so dark, it looked like they burned in a furnace. So what colors does that make Christ? It makes him a black man.
Yes,
so Christ was a black man. This right here is the image of the beast. This is iconoclasm, right? They have painted over our images and made them white. They have changed the color of Christ. They have made the truth of this Bible and turned it into a lie, right? Give me Matthew 24 and 24, right? We're going to show you how this happened. This happened through slavery. They have painted this image in our mind with yokes of iron. They destroyed us as a people. They gave us that image, right? Read that.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 24. For there shall arise false Christ.
There shall arise false Christ. What do you think that false Christ is? The image of the beast, right? They have painted that to be Christ. It said what?
There shall arise false Christ.
There shall arise false Christ. Here in America today, our people think that this is Christ. Our people, the blacks, think that a white man is going to come and save us. When has that ever happened? Never. Read on.
And false prophets.
And false prophets. These pastors here in these churches today, they are teaching what? This image right here. They are false prophets.
Right.
They are false prophets. They are not teaching the truth of this Bible. Right? Read on.
And shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
Right. That they would deceive the very elect. The elect is the children of Israel, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Right.
They have deceived our people to believing that this is Christ.
What is a nation?
Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models.